How's it going out there? It's September 7th. I'm Frank Curzio, host of the Wall Street Unplugged podcast, where I break down headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. So I'm getting the vaccine later today. Chose Moderna. Choose anything you want, basically, depending on where you want to go. And Publix has Moderna. CVS has Pfizer. I think Walgreens has Pfizer by us. I'm choosing Moderna. There's more antibodies than Pfizer. And yes, we found out today that the booster for Moderna is getting delayed, but I'm not going to need that for a while. And again, I have to get the vaccine. I wanted to wait just to see more data of someone who had COVID of whether I need it or not, right? See those antibodies. But they're kind of forcing you, and I'm doing a lot of traveling. Trying to make some big deals and find some great ideas for you. So it's going to be fun as that opens up. But I have to tell you, every single time I talk about COVID, and people are cringing right now, because I get so many emails. People are like, Frank, I don't think you're serving your audience that good if you talk about COVID. But it's positive and negative. I mean, the positives are like, thank you for being a voice of reason, telling the truth, providing data I would never find otherwise. A lot of people say, even though it may get you kicked off social media and iTunes. That's easing a lot more. I'm seeing different videos and people speaking out on studies and stuff where, that was totally removed from everywhere. But I want to share the stats. I'm a research guy. I talk to a lot of doctors who listen to this podcast. I want to share that stuff with you. Again, negatives. Stop talking about COVID. This is an investment podcast. Thank God you're getting a vaccine. You're a selfish asshole. Since dealing with this pandemic will end, it's if selfish people like you get the vaccine. Now, look, this is an investment podcast, and I love feedback. I have thick skin, and in the world of social media, I mean, we've seen tennis players come on recently, and, just people like to trash. They could do it so much more through emails and social media and things like that, but you have to have thick skin if you're going to be on these platforms and do this stuff, and I do, and I love hearing, the criticisms. I really do. As long as there's data to support them. A lot of you provided data and different stats and things like that, but it is an investment podcast, so I get it. But COVID is directly tied to your investment portfolio. Directly tied to it. I started spreading this like wildfire across the U.S. And everyone's like, it's not going to come here. And interviewing people in China on lockdown, with China was closing everything in January, early February. Again, they account for 40% of the world's growth. 40% of the world's growth. And they're shutting down everything. And we were trading at a multiple that we really, really needed to see that growth pre-COVID. Stocks at all-time highs. Very expensive. I figured the market would come down tremendously, and nobody was kind of figuring that out. We did a pretty solid job getting out. Then in May, we started learning more about this virus, who it attacks, who needs to be protected from it, combined with the government handing out trillions and trillions of dollars directly to people, not to banks, to hold the market up, like we saw in the credit crisis, or during the credit crisis. Not that, directly to people, right? It's going to spark inflation tremendously, right? We call that as well, inflation through the roof. But we got back in. And granted, about a month or so too late, but we made some exceptional returns. In August, September, we got into a lot of reopen plays. It was just a matter of time before people got sick of wearing masks. So much mixed data on it. People wanted to go out. They were sick of being locked down. Plus, knowing who this actually targets and older people, a lot of young people were like, listen, I want to go out. I'm going to be okay if I get this. It's going to be similar to the flu. The stats didn't support lockdowns. Pretty easy to figure that out if you just did a little bit of homework. You can even go to CDC, the WHO, buy sites like that. Just using their statistics. I use their statistics. Why? There's no way we should be locked down. Started to find out more data about mass social distancing. Has no evidence that these things actually work. Fauci even saying the regular mask. How many people you see wear like the blue masks? He said they don't work. I would say the majority of people, 75% I see with masks, have those. And social distancing and things like that. And more data started coming out. It's important to report that. It matters. Businesses are going to open quicker. People are going to spend more money. The money the handouts that they're getting from the government. Businesses getting PPP loans. All this. Even Harvard applying for it. Love it. Even the colleges and the tuition. Everyone blames everyone else except for those wonderful colleges who continue to raise the price of tuition, even though They closed their campuses. How great are they? You think like they would come out and say, okay, we're going to lower prices and help people. No fucking way. No way would they ever say that. No. They want free handouts. They want the government to mandate that, they're going to take care of all student debt because this way they can raise prices even more and get paid directly from the government, and the government's going to continue to pay those bills for a very long time. People don't think so. But man, those colleges, what a scam. Holy cow. They even Harvard filing for PPP loans. What's their endowment? Tens of billions, if not over 100 billion, whatever it is. Unbelievable. But hey, that's the world we live in. Free money, why not? Even if you're rich, I'm going to take it. You're giving it out, I'm taking it. Fast forward to today, and I know all of you have strong opinions on COVID. Everybody does. You know why? Because it impacted people in different ways. If you lost a loved one to COVID, you definitely have a certain opinion of how you need the vaccine. You have to watch out. Totally different from someone who, watched hundreds of friends and everybody get COVID and younger and nothing happened. You're going to have a different opinion. If you're over 70 years old with underlying conditions, you're going to have a different opinion. Of course, it impacts you. You're in a danger zone. By the way, these are the people that are making decisions. Of course they're scared shit. They should be scared shit, but should they talk for everybody? When you're in a danger zone? I don't know. I'd rather like a very smart doctor that's 55, under 60, run their own hospitals. Those are the people I want to hear from because they're not in the danger zone, but they understand how important it is to get the right message out, not saying everything applies to everyone. You need to lock yourself in your home. Wear masks in your cars. I mean, come on. If you lost someone to cancer, yet you couldn't visit them in the hospital, say goodbye to them, you're going to have a different opinion. You're going to hate everything, COVID, masks, all the bullshit. If you're a nurse, doctor, working on the front line to watch people die of COVID, again, you're going to have a certain opinion on this. And if you're young and healthy and have no underlying conditions, again, you're going to think differently about this disease. So it's open to so many different opinions. And there's a lot of emotions behind it. I get it. The reason why there's emotions is because there's so many people telling us different shit. Nobody knows who to believe. Well, believe someone who doesn't have an agenda. I don't have an agenda. I have kids. I have my mom that's sick. I want them to be safe. I don't want more people to watch my program, so I'm going to scare the shit out of them. And how you're going to die if you don't pay close attention to me and lock down and listen to all this bullshit with political ties and biases. Come on, give me a break. But for those who believe that everyone needs to be vaccinated before we see COVID go away, since I received several emails from listeners about that point, I have news for you. COVID's not going away anytime soon. No way. It's similar to the flu. There's going to be numerous strains like Delta, like MU it's called. Strains have been found in 48 states now. Trust me, you're going to hear a lot about it, probably starting next month. Like Delta, nobody really cared until Delta was really here, and now it's Delta, 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 Delta. That's all you hear every day. Well, I don't know if it's called MU or MU, but that's a new strain. But we know that the current vaccines do not protect against Delta or new strains. There's tons of people who are vaccinated are getting Delta and the new strain, MU. Yes, the vaccine seems to reduce the chance of you becoming seriously ill from Delta. We've seen some data on that. The same is likely to be said of new strains, but COVID, guys, COVID is here to stay. I mean, it's like the flu. You're going to be required to get a booster shot every year. They're already starting with it. Some of them are saying 2 booster shots a year. It's not going away. Whether you get vaccinated or not, it's not going away. How many people do you know got vaccinated who got Delta? I know tons of people. Almost everyone getting infected has had the vaccine. I'm not anti-vax by any reason. For me, if someone had COVID, I just want some more data out there before I stick a needle in my daughter's arms and my arm. But, most of it shows that you're going to be perfectly safe, and that's fine. And I hope I am, knock on wood. But I'm getting that vaccine later today because I'm going to be required if I want to travel. It's just a matter of time for airlines and major cities that I'm traveling. Holy cow. It's crazy. Requiring every place. Go inside New York City. With that said, you need to listen up, please. Those of you that bitch about COVID and those it's not about that. More important is about your investments. People are getting more used to COVID. They understand who it impacts the most, with 80% of people who die are over 60. They understand that kids could get COVID, and we're seeing lots of kids get COVID, go to hospital, but more than 99% of the time, they're fine. That's a pretty large percentage. Very large percentage. I mean, take marriage, for example. 50% of the world's marriages end in divorce. that stop anyone from getting married? That's 50%. This is 99 plus percent. It's crazy. The 99% plus overall survival rate is enough to keep our kids in school. They should be going to school. Especially when you look at what's taking place in depression, suicide, anxiety rates. It's skyrocketing children, even adults that have stayed home due to COVID. Especially the anxiety. It's tough having to work from home, learn new technologies, and explain stuff to your kids because, yes, they use computers, but there's all new programs you have to teach them, and then you have to help them. They're in the house with you. I mean, come on, it's crazy. You're used to that. But interesting fact, during the pandemic, about 4 in 10 adults in the U.S. have reported symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder during the pandemic, right? That's up from 1 in 10 adults who reported these symptoms from January through June 2019, pre-COVID. That's from the Census Bureau Household Pulse Survey. We talk about that a little bit, but not enough. I mean, it's not like, hey, keep our kids home. This way 1% doesn't die. There's a serious impact that's going on with kids and even adults if you do keep them home that could turn out to be much, much greater than COVID itself. But again, we know this data. Now, where am I going with this? Use a basketball analogy. Magic Johnson came out and told the world he was HIV positive. I mean, that was one of the bravest things I ever saw. Bravest things I ever saw. I mean, they give credit to people today coming out of the closet in professional sports. To me, it's not the same thing. We live in a world where it's more popular to be gay than not gay, and that's true. To me, that's not... A lot of these people are doing it for their own self-benefit. This way they get on TV and ESPN and sign deals with whoever and marketing deals. It's not like a statement or anything. But Magic, I mean, people were scared to go near the guy. They were going to get AIDS if he breathed on them. They were deathly afraid of HIV, everything. But look at Magic today. You see him shake his hand, be able to play in the Olympic, the Dream Team. We can't even say no one thinks about him having HIV or contracting it from him. Why? Several reasons. I mean, you got treatments now. People know more about HIV, how it spreads, but those treatments where most people don't die from HIV. So it is treatable. And also because most people are used to the story. They understand the facts. You don't panic like when you did in the 90s when learning someone had HIV. Holy shit, I'm going to get it. Don't go near that person. Oh, my God. But if you notice, as we're going on and on and on, 18 months, a little past into this with COVID, we're not as nervous about it, especially compared to the last time this year. Are we scared if we get it? Yes. But is it like, oh, my God, stay home? It's like dominating everything. Now people get it. There's protocols. You call the school, you doctors, whatever, and everyone's like, okay, stay at home. You'll be okay. And if not, come to the hospital or whatever. If you have breathing problems, I mean, we know the protocol, and we're getting used to it. So we hear it, someone has COVID and your friends have COVID. Like, holy shit, Mikey has COVID. He's going to fucking die. Oh, my God. No, it's not like that. It's like, oh, man. I heard from a couple of friends that had it. I said, look, guys, hey, this is what I know about it. You're probably going to be okay. You're going to feel really shitty. Some people get it worse than others. Have any problems breathing, make sure you get your ass to the hospital. There's ventilators or whatever, and some people have gone there and have been okay, and others, a few have died. But most people turn out to be okay. But people are getting used to the story now. It's not as scary since we know who it impacts. We know more data. We have vaccines that help a lot of people. They reduce fatalities of people who get COVID again. We have booster shots to increase immunity. We don't freak out anymore when we see someone not wearing a mask. I mean, some of these cities, man, people will be throwing stuff. You wear that fucking mask. Are you crazy? It's eased down. It's getting better and better and better. When you look at the statistics and how 99% of the population is going to be okay, even in a new COVID world, we're going to see new strains affecting vaccinated people for a very long time. But I can tell you about people that are going to go on living their lives. Businesses are going to go on finding ways to generate profits. The world is going to go on, and every country is eventually going to be fully open. So why am I talking about COVID on an investment podcast? Because there's a lot of money to be made here, and it's important. It's one thing we all have in common. Financial being, having a better, providing better opportunities for our kids and their kids and things like that. So maybe you listen to this podcast. If you look at individual sectors like the airlines that are still 25% off their pre-COVID highs. Pre-COVID, they generate record profits everywhere. New planes, do everything. These guys are charging everything, getting the money. Now people have more money than ever. Travel's going to come back. Seeing a dip in cruise stocks because of Delta. Man, people love cruises. That's coming back. Names being impacted again due to Delta. Retail stores, restaurants, travel-related stocks. I suggest buying the crap out of these names. Don't do it blindly or aggressively. Do some homework on it. Follow our newsletters. It's going to be tons of volatility. But take small positions right now. Names like Delta, Expedia, casino stocks, hotels that pull back 20-25% from their highs. These names are going to see a massive, massive boom in profits. And people are still dying to get out. They're dying to travel. Business travel is going to make a huge comeback. People are nervous right now, but you'll see it's going to make a massive comeback. This is as close to a guarantee as you get. The only thing that's not a guarantee is when. When will this happen? Could it take 3 months before we really open up? I don't know. It could. We're going to open up when we see Delta cases peak, hospitalization rates peak, to come down. Again, maybe they go back up with different strains, but it could take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Who cares? Who cares what the time frame is? I mean, I know today it's you got to know everything that second, and you want to make 1,000,000% returns tomorrow. But let's be real here. Someone's been doing this for my whole entire life. It takes a long time. It's like my business. I mean, everyone starts a business. They think they're going to be the biggest in the world in the first 2 years. It takes a fucking decade. It takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. But if it takes 2 years, who cares? It's serious. If you're a long-term investor, you're looking to trade the charts, trade the patterns. But if you're looking at fundamentals, if you're looking at sentiment among people, everything's going to open up. I mean, is 18 months, 24 months a long time? Not really. I mean, 18 months ago was when COVID first hit America. It was a long time ago. Seems like it was yesterday. And how many stocks have we seen up 300, 400, 500% from those lows? Well, we all have strong opinions about COVID. That's based mostly on our personal experience dealing with this virus over the past 18 months. We can all agree on one thing. I said it earlier. We want to provide a better life for our children. I want to retire one day or be in the position to make that choice, because I know a lot of people who could retire and don't because they love what they do. But it's nice to be in that position. We all want to be financially secure. And to do that, we need to make smart investment decisions, even during times like we're seeing today with COVID. So we need to talk about it. It's big. It influences everything in our lives. And maybe it's not the opinion you want to hear or the facts you want to hear. But even if that's the case, for me, I always like listening to the other side. Listen to what you're hearing. For me, it's doctors that don't have an agenda. They tell me, hey, Frank, you might want to mention this. Don't mention my name because I'm not allowed to mention it. Holy shit, you're not allowed to mention it? You've been treating people for 12 months. In COVID, you've seen everything. And you have some great ideas and you're not allowed to share them because you could risk losing your job? Holy shit, what country do we live in? And aren't we supposed to always make things better and the next generation better and next generation better? Now we can't share information that we know could help people? And you're not allowed to share it because it's not part of someone's agenda? Holy shit. But COVID must be addressed, and it's incredibly important for everyone to understand the facts without any bullshit from politicians or the media who have an agenda to scare the shit out of you, since it results in what? More viewership, page views, more profits. But it's important to know the facts. It's why we can make smart investment decisions. We can take advantage of the inefficiencies caused by bullshit reporting. So we all make enough money to make our life, our kids' lives, and even their kids' lives financially secure. That's what it's about. So to do that, start buying small positions of reopen stocks. You can find a lot of these names in a Curzio Research Advisory portfolio, Curzio Venture Opportunities portfolio. Some of these names have pulled back from their highs. Many are down more than 20%. I mean, some individual names, I mentioned before, Expedia, Delta, travel-related names, sports apparel companies where Dick's numbers were insane. They told you where they're seeing strong demand. I mean, how many big retailers sell their products or apparel makers sell their products through Dick's? Not too hard to figure that out. Just walk through the store really quick. Holy shit. And a lot of those names are really starting to rebound and report great numbers. So it's all together. It's not just Dick's. You're seeing that demand, seeing strong numbers everywhere. And one name that comes to mind is Callaway, symbol ELY. They sell their equipment through Dick's. Dick's said, hey, you know what? We're seeing very strong sales in golf equipment. It's continued through the pandemic. And Eli's a holding Curzio Research Advisory. We initially bought at 17, and we added to the position around 33 because the thesis just got better and better and better. So our cost basis, we're probably up around 20, 25%, around there. The company reported great earnings last time out, actually several quarters in a row, seeing huge demand for golf equipment, that Callaway golf equipment, even more growth from Topgolf, which it acquired last year, owned a piece of it, and acquired the whole thing. Anyone that goes to Topgolf, you can barely get in there. It's awesome. It's fun. Has pricing power. But they reported great numbers, not too long ago, and this morning, they just raised their guidance significantly. They raised their guidance for the third quarter and for the full year. Next quarter is the third quarter. Raised sales by 10%, EBITDA by 100%. To over $100 million from around $50 million. 100%. Holy cow. You don't do that if you're confident if those numbers are going to be even much better than that, right? So, yet you're looking at a stock that went to 35 as high. This is around past 6 months, and it fell to 27 recently. That's a nice pullback, a little bit more than 20%, and yet they're raising guidance even further, which was the thesis of many people have a hold on the stock, of many of the firms. We're not going to be sure if we said cash flow when they paid a lot for Topgolf. Believe me, things are already paying off. They're going over so many of those places, it's ridiculous. They make a fortune. And I hear that even from people from you. They make a fortune. The stock's up 5% today, but it's a name that should easily surge past its all-time highs, $35. And Topgolf's just an incredible franchise. Golf's in a secular growth market. And people who took it up during a pandemic are not going to stop playing. Sorry, that's not how golf works. I've played every sport, just about, growing up. And man, golf's by far the most competitive, the most difficult. When you play it and you hit a couple good shots, you just keep playing it. You don't play that sport once or twice and stop. You just don't. You get psyched, and then you start buying equipment and start buying good balls and everything, and then, you start going to Topgolf a lot. I mean, that's what you see into this secular uptrend in golf. It's pretty incredible. But that's how I would play this. That's why I talk about COVID. And you need to understand, not even for health reasons. Again, there's no bias here. I have 2 young kids, and watching them grow up and go to school and seeing this firsthand, and my mom, been through problems and stuff like that, and telling her to get the vaccine. Again, we just all want the right information in front of us, and unfortunately, you're not getting that from a lot of sources that you're supposed to be getting that at, from CDC, government, whatever. I mean, this is about people's lives. This isn't, whatever. Your political agenda and cutthroat, I get it. But you talk about people's lives. People are dying because of the advice that you're fucking giving them. People need good sources. And this is one of them. And again, it's something I'm proud of. And I know people get pissed off and talk about COVID. Now you know why. How many names did I just throw out at you? Opportunity to make your lives better by buying the right companies, buying the right stocks. In order to do that, you need to know everything about COVID, just like you need to know everything about fracking and everything about climate change and everything about carbon credits. You need to know everything about the industry and what's being reported out there before you decide to make investment decisions. And the fact that we're still being fed lies on COVID is pretty crazy. But you know what? It's pushing stocks down. It's pushing stocks all over the place. And you know what? My job is to make sure that you take advantage of it. And so far we have, and we're going to continue to do so. Now, the new format. Let's get to a couple of questions here. Try to keep this at 30 minutes. Let's start with Todd. He goes, Frank, been a Curzio One member for a year and have been extremely happy with the service. It's great to see you continue to honor the commitment to expand the offerings under the umbrella of both the company and Curzio One. Now, there's a couple of points I'm hoping to raise, but I'm just going to take one of them here because I want to get to a few questions. He goes, I understand the majority position of your position in Disney. However, there's one thing I've never heard you mention that seems to be missing from your narrative. On new content, Disney has been producing content for decades. They run the Disney Channel, which has numerous series on top of their movie production. I can understand shows like Mandalorian are expensive and help boost viewership, but I would contend that for a huge chunk of the demographics, young children and tweens, they already have a solid production offering in place. I do agree. They seem wildly overvalued right now, but want to get your take on this specific point. Continue to look forward to the future Curzio research and glad to be along for the ride, Todd. You're right about Disney Channel, Disney Channel, and they have new content, but that content's mostly for kids, and I have to tell you, that was great when everyone was staying home. I mean, my daughters have homework up the wazoo right now, so they're going to school. They're doing their homeworks during the week. They're not watching, all these shows, whether it's iCarly or whatever you're watching, and again, so you're coming out with new programs, but when they get home and at night after they're done, they're watching YouTube and TikTok. That's what they're watching. They're not sitting there watching TV. And remember, the TV programs are a lot different than streaming because Disney said, we're going all in on streaming. They want people to watch all this stuff on streaming. And if you want more and more people to watch stuff on streaming, you got to pay for the best actors and actresses most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. They don't have the money to do that because they're not generating a ton of cash flow. They have $40 billion in net debt. Going to generate $2 million of free cash flow this year. Yes, they have cash on the balance sheet, but you're competing against Netflix and Time Warner, who are spending $20 billion each on new content. That's not easy to do. So with Disney and the kids format, and you look at that platform is amazing. I think Netflix has the best platform by far. Disney Plus is second. Time Warner does not have that good of a platform, but they have amazing content. Godzilla, King Kong was great. And also, you look at Disney and how they're going to work that out with streaming, but Shang-Chi did amazing. I mean, they talk about Labor Day. Nobody really goes into movies for Labor Day, but they're like a Labor Day record. But anyway, again, it's marketing, right? And they're the best marketers in the world. But a lot of those people are for free, and I don't know if they're going to have the content where people are going to, where they have pricing power. I mean, this is incredibly, DirecTV just now streaming service. There's hundreds of companies that have streaming services now. Hundreds, everywhere. You're going to have pricing power? I don't know. I know Netflix does. I think Time Warner may. I don't know if Disney will. I don't know, especially if it's just kids watching this now. They're going back to school, doing their homework all the time, right? They're not home like they were to stay at home, with streaming stocks really soared. But with Disney, look, they'll figure it out. It's just short term, and if everyone say, "Oh, they're a big winner and they have 120 million subscribers," a lot of those people are free, so be careful. I mean, I've been saying to be careful. It's gone up. We saw with AMC how a stock could go up 20x, on just a story, on just Wall Street bets, people buying it, just like we saw at GameStop. So was I wrong? Yes. Did I lose a lot of money on it? Yeah. Trying to short that, buying puts, not a ton of money, but I lost money on it. I know some of you did, give you advice, but I don't know where the stock's going. I do know that they're not in the same shape as much, much weaker state than Time Warner, who generates tons, and AT&T, tons of free cash flow. Everybody talks about their debt and $150 billion, $30 billion, $25, $30 billion of free cash flow, just money coming in from all the services that people pay for, wireless, even DirecTV is on decline. Again, people sending in money every single month. They have that, which is awesome. You're not seeing that cash flow come in, especially with parks. International demand's not there. Broadway's still not there. We see movie theaters finally come back a little bit, which is great news. But for Disney stock to be trading at 50 times forward earnings when earnings are not going to get back to pre-COVID levels until 2024? Holy cow, that's pretty crazy to me. But again, the stock can go higher. I could be wrong on that. But that has been factored into my thesis. But again, they are going all in on streaming. Yes, they do have some pretty cool content on Disney Channel, which all the kids watched and were used to watching. But it's different now. They're watching TikTok. They're watching YouTube. That's what my kids watch. They love YouTube now. A lot of youngsters have YouTube channels. They post crazy stuff all the time, whether it's on Grand Theft Auto or different games or whoever. That's what they're watching right now. So with Disney, look, the numbers are going to matter eventually. Data just don't matter right now. Next question. Try to get to these couple really quick. Clifton says, hey, Frank, CVO and CRA subscriber. That's Curzio Venture Opportunities and Curzio Research Advisor subscriber. Listen to the podcast this week and still not see the opportunity for uranium. Doesn't Kazakhstan still control the market? Won't it just ramp up production to keep other producers out of the market, just like OPEC and oil? Biden administration care less and is probably hostile to American producers. All right, so first of all, Biden, the current infrastructure bill has, 1.8 billion dedicated to it. Again, this is clean energy. So Biden supports it. So did Trump support it. So it's supported on both sides of the aisle because America is the largest consumer of uranium and we don't produce anything here. Cameco, North America differently, but we don't produce anything. So Kazakhstan already cut their prices. They already cut production, to inflate prices. It's totally different when we're looking at OPEC. OPEC is, you look at U.S. shale producers, and we found a way to produce massive amounts of oil through new technology. And we knew at $45, $50 that makes sense, and oil stayed high tremendously, and OPEC was trying to cut and get some of these people out of business and whatever. That's different. We produced so much that we became the largest oil producer in the world in the U.S., something that no one ever thought of 10, 15 years ago. So it makes sense for OPEC to do what they did. When it comes to uranium, there's no production. People can't produce unless it's over $60. What is it, 37, 38 on this recent run? Okay, 80% increase in prices. So it's in Kazakhstan's best interest to get this price to 50, 60, 70. We're still not really going to produce that much in the U.S., hardly anything, yet their profits are going to soar. So that thesis doesn't make sense. Yes, they still control the market, but they're cutting, and they maintain those cuts even at 30, at 29, 28. With OPEC, you wait a certain level, and they're like, oh, okay, well, they want to bring prices down. They can produce for a lot less. But no, I think both of those theses, they don't hold water here. It's two totally different markets. And we have other options where the U.S. can produce massive amounts of oil to support us, to support consumption and that huge demand. So two totally different markets. And let me take one last question. And by the way, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Clifton. And I want to take one last one here, which is from Justin. He goes, Frank, thanks for all the great picks. Been a follower since Street.com days. And not only have you made me money, but you saved my ass numerous times over the past decade. I appreciate that. So my question, if you could choose another profession outside of the financial world of research, what would it be? I know you're great at what you do, but I'm curious to see what else motivates you. Thanks for all the hard work, Justin. Money-wise, I think the best profession right now, based on risk-reward, you should be a criminal in a big city. You can steal almost anything you want. Nobody's coming after you. If they do, the cops can't really do anything to you, right? They got to try to say, hey, you're under arrest. Hey, come here, buddy. Hey, here's your head. Go ahead, nice and easy. They can resist arrest, try to grab your gun. You can't do anything. It's okay. Go in there. That's fine. How much you steal? I mean, don't steal anything like $5,000 worth of stuff from banks, but you could steal merchandise for under $200. And what are you going to do? You're going to get released like the next day. That's a pretty good job. But risk reward, become a criminal in a big city. Learn to pick locks, rob homes, and make sure you don't have a weapon on you, and you're fine. If you do, you're going to go to jail even longer. But really, you get caught, you're out just the next day. Unless you get caught on a Friday, you have to wait for the weekend because the judges usually don't work. I'm not speaking from experience, I swear, that I knew that. But, it's pretty crazy, right? People just running in stores, stealing stuff, and nothing happens to them, and you can wear masks. And no one's going to say anything to you. But anyway, just kidding. Being serious, a high school basketball coach, varsity for women, maybe for men as well. Either or. I mean, that's my dream. This dream right here, I love what I do, but this is kind of my father's dream, and me, just honoring that and doing what I'm doing is, my way of dealing with not having that father figure anymore since he passed away at such a young age. So I guess, for any son, I mean, your goal is you always want your dad to say, hey, are you proud of you? And you don't have that to say that. So for me, it's the work ethic. It's building this thing 100 times bigger than, he ever built his company and, doing it the right way, providing advice, being honest with people, even though when you say what's really on your mind and don't hold back and tell the truth, sometimes, you get some negative emails and people get pissed, but hey, that's okay. That's me. I grew up in New York. That's how I learned. That's how he taught me. But this is kind of like his dream. And, I'm having fun doing it. Got a great team and I'm building this thing. And, I think we're in the very early innings of really building this into an amazing, amazing place. And, that's my motivation. But without that, if I retire or I don't do this anymore, which is not going to happen for a very long time. So don't worry about your Curzio One members. I could tell you that, being a high school basketball coach on a varsity level, even JV would be okay. But for women, I think women are great, especially having girls and stuff like that. But that's something I'm extremely passionate about. And I think I could teach kids a lot about that game, something I played for over 30 years that I love. So, guys, hopefully you enjoy the new format. But that's it for me. But thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate your support. Be sure to listen to my interview tomorrow because that person is someone who's directly responsible for helping you make a lot of money. Actually, a first-time guest. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Almost every CEO, investor, and Curzio member knows this person. Even though it's a first-time guest, they know exactly who this person is. It's going to be a great interview. Again, thanks so much for the support. I'll see you guys then. Take care.